In our top story, Lebanon says it will lodge a protest with the United Nations Security Council over Israeli military offensive in the south of the Arab country. The decision was made during a meeting of Lebanon's cabinet following the Israeli shelling that is of the Sheba Farms area on Monday. Foreign Minister Nasif Hiti said the cabinet has condemned Israeli aggression and will file the UN protest in 24 hours. Earlier, President Michel Aoun described Israeli aggression as a threat to stability in southern Lebanon. Prime Minister Hassan Diab also slammed Israeli violation of his country's sovereignty, calling it a dangerous military escalation. Israel says it thwarted an effort by Hezbollah fighters to infiltrate into occupied territories. However, the resistance movement dismissed the claim, saying it was not involved in any clashes with Israel. And now joining us out of Belfast for more on the story is Saeb Sha'ath, author and Middle East affairs expert. Hello, Mr. Sha'ath. Always a pleasure to have you on Press TV and get your perspective. Now, your thoughts, please, on what's going on there in the Sheba Farms area, which I should add is occupied Lebanese territory by Tel Aviv forces. Your thoughts, please.
It is an occupied Lebanese territory by the Zionist entity. And the Zionist entity, since the Arab Spring, or what's supposed to be called Arab Spring in Syria, its terrorist gangs destroyed the radar systems in Syria and the systems for protecting the skies of Syria. It's became a habit for them after that to attack Syria and causing casualties among the Arab populations or the guests who's in Syria. And one of them was Ali Mohsen, is a Lebanese resistance fighter for the Hezbollah, who they killed him there. The Netanyahu government panicked when that happened and sent a message, secret message through the UNIFIL, which is the United Nations forces in the North Palestine, south of Lebanon area, between the Zionist entity and the resistance, telling the Hezbollah they didn't mean to kill Ali Mohsen. They didn't know that area had Lebanese fighters. And then suddenly, the Israeli army deployed its best elite units to the north of Palestine and surrounding Sheba Farms. And panic happened in the Zionist entity totally after the statement of Hezbollah, when Samahat Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah said they will avenge the martyr by attacking the Israeli military. And the media and the Zionist entities, political circles, military circles, intelligence circles, all panicked. And suddenly we heard the Zionist army was fighting Lebanese supposed to be infiltrators, and it was ghosts appeared suddenly in the north borders of Palestine. And the Israelis start shelling the Sheba Farms, occupied Sheba Farms, and waging warfare games on ghosts and shadows. And then what's his name, the former Lieberman, the former Zionist entity security minister, he said there was actually nothing in there, and we panicked. And the same thing said Hezbollah stated that they're going to fight and revenge that, and an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And this is jeopardize actually the balance of deterrence between the Zionist entity not just between the Zionist entity and the resistance in the area, and make them a joke. The Israeli population itself, they're making fun out of their government and how Netanyahu even acted to that. And as well, the Israeli themselves, the forces near Sheba Farm themselves, from that panic, some of their even military vehicle crashed, and they have one soldier killed and one injured. That kind of panic, the Israelis wanted to unleash a big force to soothe Lebanon, to seduce Lebanon, and to enforce their will. And that's why the Lebanese government went ahead with to complain to the Security Council. They attacked civilians. They caused mayhem in the region for nothing. Just Hezbollah was sitting silent and watching, and it promised to take revenge on soldiers, and the Zionist entity panicked big time.
And when you say panic, and you mentioned ghosts, and I wish it was ghosts, because we're getting, the reports here that a couple homes were actually shelled, and you alluded to civilians, and a family of 5 was home, and their home was actually shelled by Tel Aviv forces. Luckily, no one in that family was hurt, but they could have been very easily. They could have wiped out a family in this aggression. And then, obviously, we've always seen in the past something that Israel rarely ever does, shows any accountability for or answers for.
That's very true. What I meant by ghost, the Israeli army declared that there is a Lebanese Hezbollah infiltrators went in there, and there's nothing. No one infiltrated or did anything. They panicked themselves and they start shelling, because the Zionist entity, they don't consider any lives apart from their own is important. They targeted civilians, they targeted the villagers, and they are prepared, as we remember in 2006, to target the whole country and to devastate the whole country. And that's why we notice even the Western governments, last visit, I give you an example of the French defense minister to Lebanon. One of the things he focused on and giving more support to the UNIFIL forces and give them more extra capabilities, worrying about the security of Israel, not worrying about the situation of Lebanon, the siege of Lebanon, wrecking the economy of Lebanon. This is what the West is focused, always to help and maintain the existence of the Zionist entity, who have no consideration for civilians whatsoever, targeted villages, targeted towns, assassinating people, and trying and got its own elite units now adjacent to the occupied Golan Heights and the south of Lebanon, waiting on Hezbollah to make the first move. I'm telling you, there is a big panic tonight in the Zionist entity.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to have you on and get your perspective out of Belfast, Mr. Saeb Sha'ath, author and Middle East affairs expert there. Stay safe.